everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with me, Anne Welsh. You might ask, why am I dancing? Why am I dancing? What's making me excited? Why am I so excited? Wow, this guest makes me excited. She makes me want to dance, especially at nighttime. She makes me really, really want to dance because her music really gets you going. When you listen to it, it's really, really relaxing. It's energized. She's brought new formula to music, something we haven't seen before. Something, now we've seen it back in the 80s, back in the days, but she's made it pop. She's made it sensational. My guest is Renee. She's a soul and pop singer. She's a talented musician who's been writing music for many, many years. She's driven, she's passionate, and she's charismatic artist as well. Her voice is romantic and soulful too. Meet my guest. She's joined me live, and I'm so excited. Even seeing her makes me want to dance. Just dancing to the tune. I can't listen to it, but we'll be playing that at the end of this video. Rene, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for joining this whole process with me, because it was difficult. It was really difficult for me to get this platform going, and because I just felt at this is the time that people need to tell their stories. A lot of people I've spoken to are in a place where they're very, very unhappy with themselves. They're unhappy with everything going on, being confused. But so many of us have lived through pain in one way or the other. And I know your story is something that would sit with a lot of people. So thank you so much for being here. Could you just introduce yourself a little bit for those who don't know you, but I know a lot of people do know you already, so that you need no further introduction, but for those who don't, if you could just tell us a little bit about who you are and what makes you,
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Anne, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to share this platform and to share with all your audience. My name is Renee Bird. I'm a singer-songwriter. That's my first love. Also an influencer, getting involved and working with loads of brands and just trying to share my story. And even at this time, it's very important to have a platform for purpose. So I saw very quickly I couldn't make it just about myself. I had to really reinvent the wheel and share my story and give the opportunity for people to share theirs and collaborate and, just love one another. Perfect time.
No, absolutely. It is such a crazy thing. Everything that we're used to has all shifted. It's no longer, the things are no longer the same anymore. We've seen it, we go to the fashion shows together now in September. We're not even sure if that's going to take place anymore. We do so much, and we talk about so much things that we want to do. Just can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into the songwriting thing? Because I listened to you and I can't wait to play it at the end of this thing.
I come from a musical family. My father was in the music industry, was signed to a major record label in the 80s. And I also have a very religious gospel background. My uncle, he had his own TV show on Channel 4 when I was a child. And I used to see him all the time on TV, and my dad. And they used to do royal variety performances for the royal family all the time. So it was a regular occurrence to hear music and to be part of festivals, sit inside stage or sitting on the speaker, and you have Sting and Sade walk past you and Tracy Chapman, all the big stars. It was crazy. That was always a sign for me, because I ran on the stage when I was only little, and I grabbed the mic and started serenading the crowd, and my dad was backstage. He told me to sit on the speaker and not move, and I just couldn't help myself. And that was almost like a sign that there was something in me to let out. I recorded very young. I come from a musical family, very connected to a lot of people in the music industry, and just had a big voice but a small body. So at the time, it was really difficult for them to work out what to do. So little by little, your journey dictates who you are, and I believe your experiences create some amazing songs. So my journey, going through a lot of pain and breakups and things, made me evolve into who you see now. It's the right time.
You said you're a songwriter, which is something takes a lot of, because I've written a book, so I know how long it takes to write things. How do you get that creative mind and urge to write a music and write a song? Because this is something I'm always fascinated about when people tell me they're a songwriter.
Yes. A lot of the time you watch and you observe other people's experiences and it just kind of triggers. And sometimes I jump out my sleep and have a song, which is really weird. So I've got to literally have a notebook and pen next to my bed. If something comes, I can just write it down, or I hold my phone and hum a melody. But a lot of it is just the experience. I think when I really evolved is when I had experiences, and I decided very quickly, what was I going to do with all these experiences? Was I going to wallow in pain and sit there and feel woe is me, or was I going to create a song that can hopefully share that experience and heal some hearts? And I did that. So a lot of it is my own personal experiences to hopefully give to others, and observation. So I'm always listening to people and thinking that could be a song, but it's not something that sometimes you don't think about it. Sometimes it's just a different realm and it just comes to you. And they say when that kind of creativity is formed, it's really hard to explain. Some of the greatest songs in the world were just created by a moment in time.
Yes, I agree. Because most of my book was written at night time. I used to take a pen and paper to bed, and because that was when my mind would just start, giving me all sorts of things, where I should write it, what I should say, where I should use my quotations in it. So I used to miss out on not having the pen and paper. Then I realized that, and then by the morning, this whole thing is going to vanish. Better take a pen and paper, or use your phone, the notepad, and write as much as you can. But so for you with songwriting, do you write for others, or do you just mainly write for do your own thing, or do you do other songwriting for others?
Yeah, I wrote for myself first. It took me a little while. My dad taught me how to songwrite. I used to get really frustrated and never understood it. And the best way to describe a song is basically a story of a hook. So there's a repetition in that story. And that's the thing that jumps out at you. So for example, Because I'm Happy by Pharrell Williams, that's the thing that jumps out. But then there's a story around the reason why he's happy. So that's kind of a tip of how you write a song. But a lot of the times I've wrote with other people. I come from a musical family. My brother's actually my producers. And what's crazy, I've been in the industry a long time, and I was let down relentlessly by people. You think you're going to get the big change, and then they will let you down. So my little brothers, when they were young, they said to me, one day I'm going to be your producer, sis. And now they are. They're absolutely my rocks. Wow. So the song that I've got out now, Born Again, it was them that did it, along with my cousins who are also part of the system in my production. But literally, we all help each other. So I'd be on my brother's song, I'd be doing backing vocals for him, he'll do backing vocals for me, and we just co-write and we share everything equally. I think when it's a family, you can do that. And there's nothing better than being safe with people that you care and believe in who you are.
Especially when it's a family, they also know your talent and your ability. So they're able to chip in and add that value to it where you can't. Again, with songwriting, because I, as an author, probably that's why I'm finding this part of the subject so fascinating. When you write stories, do you, for example, I know a lot of people when they write stories, because especially now we're going through COVID-19, are you going to think about something you write about it, about the whole process we're going through? Have anything come through your mind about how the emotions, or some people write, probably they're going through breakups, write about breakup, write about ex-boyfriends, write about, being in love. Do you put that in your songs?
I do. I literally try to think of something which feels authentic. I think the most powerful songs are authentic and from the heart. Yeah. And we've got a song at the moment that I'm rehearsing until I get into the studio. I can't wait. And that's based on a true life experience of when you're with somebody and you feel that relationship was going one way, and you love the person, and you realize at a drop of a hat, one day that person tells you I'm not in love with you. Yeah. That's feeling, and the feeling, that pain, and it's called Falling, and it's the most powerful song that me and my brother and his one of the other songwriters have written to date. It's phenomenal, and I love it. I love the way it makes me feel. I feel something very powerful about that song. So the more authentic it is, the more real it is. It just seems to touch. And if it touches me, if I get excited about my own song, I know hopefully I've done the same thing to other people. Yeah. So I think it's just being true to life. I think it's looking around. Some of the most powerful songs that have resonated with people at this moment in time are very historical songs, like Lean on Me, things like that. Holding on to for hope.
Yes.
I think it's important your songs are going to resonate and give hope, because I think we can definitely speak about how he left me or how I left him, but how about we left each other and we grew and we expanded, you know, born again, which is quite interesting. Hopefully people feel they've reset themselves at the end of all of this. So even though I didn't write that song written by someone else, some songs can actually give you some sort of perspective and change your whole life in one swoop, and create memories that you can hear a song and it takes you back to a place in time.
Yeah, no, being a Christian, it really took me back to a place in time. It took me back to my Christian days where I used to go to church every moment I got. And it also got me back to, you know, especially when we started going through this tough time. I mean, I remember putting your song in my car and just listening to the lyrics. I felt to myself, that voice is telling me, and there is God. I remember when I had this pillared step conversation at church, and before going into church, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous to do this conversation. Everyone's gonna be watching me. What do I do to calm my nerves? I remember putting your song on my Spotify and just listening to it. That just gave me that, born again, that confidence that I am myself. Don't worry about it. Go for it. And just, you know, I felt clean going into that meeting. So I really appreciate, and I really would encourage anyone else, if they're going through something like that, to just listen to play this music, because it really did magic for me. But on this song, I'm not songwriter now, on the singing part, because I know you're a singer, you sang that song, Born Again. It was your voice I was listening to that was calming me. How do you prepare yourself? Athlete will prepare themselves a certain way to train. You see my son is an athlete. He, you know, plays for the 9 ice hockey. I know what we have to do with him, like, you know, watch what he eats, train constantly. He's always training. And then we also have to make sure he's in the right environment as well. How do you balance, how do you find your voice to sing? How do you think I do that?
You know what? You have to train on the greatest singers on earth. From very young, it's all about the practice. It's all about listening to the best singers to train your voice, and knowing your limitations and knowing where you need to push yourself. I sing all the time, literally throughout my whole day, from the moment I'm in the shower, when I'm cooking. It's kind of part of me. It becomes who I am. But one of the things is I just listen to some songs, and sometimes the song or the vocalist or the artist just takes me somewhere. So I join them, I join their feeling and their journey. I've got to make sure that there's certain things I can't eat actually before I even do a studio performance or do a show.
Like
chocolate.
Chocolate?
Can't eat chocolate.
Nuts.
Yeah, it plays, it's the chocolate, it goes into my esophagus, and then it just clogs you up. So when you want to hit a high note soprano, it can make it very, very difficult. And bread can dry me out. So I tend to have water. I will have a little bit of honey, not so much lemon because it's acidic. And I kind of focused on that before any performance. And just keep my airways as clear as I can, you know, and do all the warm-up exercises that you need to do to give you that opening before you do a performance. But I think it just becomes part of you. And as I said, the practice of practicing on the best singers in the world will train you up. And from very young, you know, I was singing I Always Love You, and I could hit that note without even trying. And that was part of my performance, part of me growing as a singer. So yeah, that's how I evolved.
Wow. You know, we never think about it that the singers have to also put the same effort. Obviously, we know they need to train their voice, but obviously no one thinks about the amount of effort it takes to get yourself ready for performance.
Yeah.
You know, this platform is also about pain. Could you tell us one of your key pain that you've overcome in your life? Mine has always been my chronic pain, because that disadvantaged me in so many different ways. I mean, that's why I had to write this book, and that's why I had to create this platform, because my own pain cost me so much disadvantage. And I know so many people around the world who are going through such pain and they're still suffering. So I wanted to use this platform to help others. But along the way, I realized that pain is not just chronic pain. There are all sorts of pain. There's bereavement pain, there's divorce pain, there's letting down pain, there's just all sorts of pain. And I realized this economy pain, for example, now people will lose their jobs and not being able to meet the demands of the family. That is also a big pain for a lot of people. And I just wanted to share that platform of pain, and not just chronic pain. In your sense, what do you define as pain, and how do you tend to overcome yourself, overcome challenges when you go through pain?
Yeah, I think you pointed out very, very correctly. There's so many variations of pain. I think for myself, because a lot of people who are creative tend to be quite sensitive. And I think the biggest pain I've overcome was when I had a major breakup. I was with someone for most of my life. And we split, and it felt like he died, but he was alive. So I had pain of heartache, but also felt like a form of bereavement, because I was like, the person's not longer with me, but he's alive, and I'm trying to deal with him not being there. And it was really, really tough. And I had that moment that you see in Sex and the City, where the curtains are closed and you don't want to open it. My brother at the time, he held my hand and said, "Come on, sis." And I'm not embarrassed to say, when you love somebody and you're no longer with them, it was really tough. But what I realized at that time was to definitely try and channel that. I remember the moment where I said, it's sink or swim time. You have to step up and you have to push out of this feeling and find something to push you out of it. And obviously, as a singer, I was able to use all of that and create songs that you hear on my album to then bring me back to that place of victory. And it was tough, and it's like your heart remembers. So any other little situations after, you kind of think, oh my God, am I going to go through that again? So you become quite strong and resilient to it. But you have to, what I realized over time is you find something to channel it in, because it's very easy to wallow in your own self-pity. And it's not a problem that you do that either, because that is a natural process of healing, is to cry, is to purge.
Yes.
The whole idea is making sure at the end of it you come out, and I was really very strict on myself to ensure that. And then that's been kind of my mantra throughout my whole life. Yeah, pain will hit you, but you have to find a way to channel it. And because people are watching, even in our positions who have platforms, people are watching to see how you deal with things. So you're helping them. You're like a big inspiration to others. So that gave me even more drive to say, you know what, I got through this, but you can't see the pain on me. You can't see what we went through. You can just know if I tell you.
You see, that's why I talk about these pain, because the pain I go through is a chronic illness, but it's also invisible, so you can't really see it on me. You will never know I go through daily pain. Everyone sees me and just think I'm absolutely fine, I'm perfect, there's nothing wrong with her, not knowing I'm in myself. I have to take lots of painkillers to just get me through day by day. So you just have to still smile at the end of the day and get people, in a positive light, because at the end of the day, people are out there counting on you and looking up to you for their happiness. I don't know why people do that, but that's how the world is. What people look at you for their happiness, and probably they're going through a bad breakup or bad chronic illness or bad bereavement, whatever it is they're going through. Just looking at you and seeing that you could overcome your pain gives them the confidence to do that and do that. Wow. When the COVID-19 and there's a pandemic, we're in isolation, how are you doing at home? What are you doing with your time during these difficulties? How are you keeping busy?
Well, I must be honest, when it first happened, I freaked out. I'm a very strong cookie, I'm very confident. But I have an other half who is across the water. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. So the border's closed. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to see him again? Because think of the news and the broadcast, it was just awful. So my first reaction was total pain, devastation. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? My mum, my dad. Because obviously
we forget those people who have long distance relationship. We forget that they're not going to see, and they don't even know when. I forgot that pain. Go on. I just totally forgot that.
Yeah, and so that was really tough. And then I just had to say, well, there's nothing I can do about it other than be positive, put out the right vibrations and raise it. And I almost I remember the morning, I just woke up and said, okay, what are you going to do? I had a single that came out in the February, then obviously COVID hit 23rd of March, where we all went lockdown. my whole campaign had to shift, and I was really mindful of not making it about myself, because, you know, these people are dying, people are losing jobs, and the list is endless. So I had to really take a big look at myself and go, okay, what do you do? Right, you are going to, more than ever now, use your platform, use your presence in the most positive way. And then it challenged me even more. I would put out my music. I was still, you know, campaigning, but just being very mindful of it. Then I created, as you know, platforms and sessions where I was connecting with people in business and experts to share their story. And that felt amazing, because there's a lot of people, because of what's happened, their businesses have shifted and sometimes they haven't got the outreach. So I had to really stop and think, let me use this now. This is when you will be judged more than you've ever been judged. It's not about you. It's no longer the selfie moment. It's actually about what you can do with the platform. And it's helped, you know, and just making sure my mother and father were well, my family. And I'm good. I'm in a really good place. And I, you know, little by little, in a different place now, where things, you know, the numbers are dropping of people who are passing away, but I feel terrible for the ones that have, and my heart goes out to the families. But we are coming out at the other end, and that's what I held on to. And I'm so happy we're there now. We're there.
What about missing your other half? How did you take it? How did you come into that?
What's interesting is that we've had moments of, when I say separation, because I don't use that word, but we've had moments where we haven't seen each other as much, because he goes away on business, he travels a lot, and I do too. So we've had moments where we've had times where we haven't seen each other. So we were used to having that relationship where we're getting to know each other. It's so much, and I say this with respect, it's not a physical, our relationship, it's actually a mental. We like one another. We're good friends on top of being lovers. So it was so much easier to dissolve the fact, okay, I'm not going to touch you, baby, but I'm connected with you either way. And we talk so much. Our relationship is very deep. So, and then we just know there will be light at the end of this tunnel. So that day when I do, and it's coming soon, get to go and see him and spend time, it's just going to be remarkable. But the anxiety, I must say, of knowing that he's in a different place and he became unwell, it did freak me out. So I find myself, and I can't get hold of him. I have a bit of a panic attack. Is he okay? Or something happened? And he's like, baby, I'm fine. And I had to just learn to relax and just trust the process. And literally every single night I pray. I meditate and pray for everyone I love, including yourself, Anna. I pray for my friends, my family, my lover, my partner, and just believe it's going to be okay. I think that's the only way you can get through this, you know?
You know what a lot of people don't know about you is just that you're not just a songwriter, you do so much. And I want to know, how do you balance your time? I mean,
I don't sleep, and I don't know how. You know what? I had to learn. I don't know. Well, you're a mother, so you're just as busy. You know, you're a mother, a wife. So I think when you love something, you just find that time. But I've got to learn to have more time for me. I've literally got to schedule my time, and I don't do that. My time is when I go to sleep. You know, and even
I started doing that this time, this COVID-19. I started scheduling me time. I said, no, enough. I have to find time for me. I don't. It's a lot. I wear a lot of hats, corporate hats, as you know. I do influencing and the singing, then the managing, you know, friendships and managing family, and the list goes on. But I love that. I love to be someone that can add value to whoever it may be. And I think that's my purpose. I believe God's put me here to bless. You bless others, and I feel that more powerful. But I don't know how I do it. I've had to really slow down, and something about COVID has actually made me really stop and think about what I'm doing and be a bit more smart in my attack, as opposed to just working. So all the events I'm here, there, and everywhere, it slowed me down. So I think that's only the positive as I can see, and also the earth has had a chance to reset, you know. But I know it's ridiculous. It's crazy, but you managed to juggle it all. On a final note, what advice would you give to anyone who wants to be a songwriter before someone who's, you know, hasn't had the opportunity you've had? You've had great family network all around you. Your dad is in this industry, your brothers are in this industry. You just surround yourself, I'm sure your cousins as well, you know, everyone around you, so one way or the other, are connected to music. So someone like me, I have no one connected to music, but I do like singing and I do like to listen to good music. When I was younger, My dad, if I told my dad I wanted to go into music, he would look at me because he wouldn't even know where to start, right?
So,
And the same thing with my son. The reason he's in ice hockey is that relates to his dad. You know, the dad was in ice hockey, almost made the NHL. So that made it easier for him to know what path he needed to go to. When you don't have these things, how do you advise someone that hasn't got any of these parts? Okay, for example, you have to advise me, for example, don't know anything about music. I want to sing. What do I do? My daughter wants to start singing. She has no one influencing her. What do we do to influence her and get her excited about music? If I wanted that, if I see she has a talent.
I think, where it starts, I think it's really important for the passion to lie within the person, because when it does, it naturally evolves. So I loved music, and obviously I did have an upbringing around it, but I was the one, and all my family can play, and I was so busy singing and dancing. So it was in me to entertain, it was in me to sing. So the key thing is the love of what you do. And then it's learning and being open and childlike to creativity. Because I think a lot of the time there's a seriousness that surrounds creativity, as you know. But then because of that seriousness, you can lose that passion because things go bad, good, and indifferent. So the key is to enjoy it. Because when you're enjoying it, actually, you see people who are very successful, they say they absolutely love what they do. Can you imagine? You love what you do and you're successful and you make money from it.
Yes,
the fantastic thing you do. So it's enjoying what you do and then surrounding and, seeking out people who you like their style of singing. Being a bit fearless in your approach. And a lot of people, they miss opportunities in life because they just didn't take that step. And what's the worst that can happen? You just get told no, or someone doesn't respond. But out of the many that you send, there'll be somebody that will come and go, yeah, absolutely. Oh, definitely, let's do this. So I'll give an example. There's a young girl that's around me at the moment. She's about 13. I bet I've known her since she was 3, but she took it upon herself to contact me one day on my socials, said, "Oh, Auntie Renee, could you do a shout out?" And I was like, I love that tenacity that she showed to want to see whether I would help and do something. And I said to her, no, let's go one step further. Let's do an IG live, let's put you out there. I love that about that young lady because she saw and took that plunge. So one of the things is taking the risk in our industry, as well as having the talent, but taking the risk and really enjoying the process. And then everything else will happen, because what will happen, your energy, your positivity, your passion will elude from other people, will find it and feel it. And before you know it, you'll find people that are like-minded. Because they say like attracts like, isn't it? So if you're positive, you're oozing passion, you're actually trying to learn your skill, because that's important too. Listening to the best singers in the world that will train your voice, it will happen. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So when are we expecting, because obviously the whole COVID-19 removed things around for the single. Are you still thinking of releasing that? Are you going to do a Zoom party? What's the plan now? Because that's the new thing now.
Well, it's funny you say that. I think everything's gone online. I was supposed to have a load of radio interviews, and now they're all scheduled to do Zooms. And I was like, great, you actually can get more people and do more online because it's not based on you having to travel somewhere. The key thing is getting in the studio. A lot of my album is more or less done. It needs to go into mix mode. And what that means, listeners, is it just needs to be tweaked so it sounds professional standard that you hear on the radio. And a lot of that needs to be done. I've got a few vocals to finish, and then I can then sit down and go, okay, how am I going to approach an album launch in COVID time or post-COVID? It's crazy, isn't it? Whereas before you would, go to a members club. That was my thought process. I was going to do a launch there. Now I have to schedule my mind. So I think it's approaching how are we going to put it out. But the greatest thing about the fact that now we are online is that you're seen by thousands. I've got more people watching me than I ever had. Not to say they weren't watching, but they are really watching.
Now they are. Now they seriously are. Now this is probably the best thing that's happened if we know how to utilize it. It's almost like I say to people, sometimes the economy or your body also sometimes need to get sick, especially when you're going and don't take that time out to slow down. Then the body just has to break down to heal again and get things even more better than it was before. Because this has given a lot of people time to reflect, to think about everything that's happened and think about how to be better and use that time more effectively. Renee, Thank you, darling, so much. But before I go, I want you to introduce your song. Tell us what the song and where people could find your song. I want you to tell us all of that before we go. But thank you so much for taking this time. I know how busy you are. I was actually, when you said I could do it probably today, I was like, wow. Yeah. Probably so busy, and she made the time. And people might say, what do you mean she's so busy? It's COVID time. People are
busier than I've ever been. It's crazy.
We are still busy because this is a time to reinvent things, and it takes more time because you have to learn how to do things again. It's not like the other time. We're relearning things. I'm really learning how to use Zoom. I've never used this before. So this is the business. We're learning a lot. So Rene, please introduce your song, and thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to
thank you so much for having me.
I look forward to seeing you very soon, and hopefully this is all over and we could be at your party again.
Definitely. I can't wait to see you. Definitely give you some love.
Yeah, thank you. So go ahead, I'll leave you to end the floor.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to myself and the wonderful Anne. She's just an actual angel queen. And I'd like to introduce you to my new single called Born Again. It's available on all the platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and you can go to my website, www.reneebird.com. And I will definitely have a chat with you guys. And I hope it gives you some inspiration and gives you something to hold on to right at this time. You take care.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Thank you.
You're soft.